When we focus mainly on faith when it comes to teaching children about these things, it can be limiting because it can be teachings from older times.
If had children learn or know this, would it do them harm than good?
Comprehensive sex education can do more harm than good kapag right now, for example, may report sa hearing na yung mga teachers pala, hindi pala sila adequately trained.
There's this 13 years old, just a little girl. She was sexually abused by the father. It's because of the lack of education.
Being guided more by science and research is much more effective than mainly relying on faith and religion.
Everybody is creating a culture wherein sex is just an act. Parang, what has happened to our morals?
Towards gender ideology, I think it will do more harm than good.
What is faith if it's easily shaken?
The danger here is it gives children a false sense of security.
I believe that we should teach our children how to protect themselves. So, no touch, good touch, bad touch is a go. That is so good. But apart from that, teaching them about sex and exploring it, for me, that is very questionable as a parent and as an educator.
Hindi condom reliant, pwede ituro ang condoms, pero hindi siya condom reliant kasi yung iba parang just give them the condom, okay. Ako, I've used a condom before, hindi naman na-cover the whole thing. So, parang, diba? So, diba?
Do you think that the internet makes sex education in schools even more urgent?
The increased usage of the internet for the youth and everyone else means that there's little restrictions when it comes to what that children can see. Even if there are parental controls and settings on certain devices and websites, you can only limit it so much. And there are also instances where these children can talk to other people who have access to internet as well, even if you restrict those children. So in this time, when the information will be readily available to them, it's important that the parents or the guardians and the teachers get a handle on this and control the narrative before it spreads out and before they get informed on misinformation and wrong actions.
Okay, so on my end as a parent, I was able to experience that my son, he was able to view pictures that is not appropriate for his age. The way I reacted to it is via sex education. He's only 13 years old back then, but I feel that it's very appropriate for me as a parent to teach him what is appropriate, what is not appropriate, because the school is not yet educating them about sex education, and it's not fully implemented. And so we need to step in, whether a parent or guardian, for the safety of our kids. And that's only one incident. Sex education, it's not just primarily for the kids to avoid teenage pregnancy, but it's also providing an emotional safe space for them to talk about it openly, for them to be fully aware of what's happening within their body, the boundaries that they need to implement, the self-respect, knowing their worth as a person, and how they can react to the opposite sex, especially if there's a physical touch involved.
Yeah, parents or guardians cannot control everything that their kids see on the internet, regardless how hard they try. And that's just the reality of life. And the best thing that we can do right now is to provide tools on how the younger generation can filter, how to critically think about the information that they receive, and know how and when to ask questions when there are information that might be confusing or information that they're not familiar with. So it's important that we, first of all, start with a comprehensive sex education program in schools. Not only does it teach students and young kids about safety, but also understanding that whatever they're seeing online is not always the truth. But maybe this is a start of the discussion with parents, start of discussion within the education system. So I think it's important that we provide and give the kids the tools that they need in combating misinformation.
The sex education is comprehensive enough, and with the proper guidance, and if it's culturally relevant, those children will be properly oriented on how to appreciate the information that they do access in the internet, even if it's a lot, even if they can control it. If the adults can explain to them how to appreciate this information, then it will be not as problematic if they get to witness those things.
Do you think sex education will expose children to risking their innocence?
Kung ang topic is based on relying mostly on condom use. I remember nung 2016, ang DOH attempted to distribute condoms sa mga junior and senior highs. What do you expect na gawin ng mga bata dito, especially pag tinuruan mo sila ng paggamit ng condom? I think the logical thing for them to do is to use this new knowledge and probably become more sexualized.
So I am all for sex education. See, with all our problems now in society, with abuse, with harassment, the age is getting lower and lower. I am all for sex education. The question is, how? What kind of sex education? When I read the CSE curriculum, I find it highly sexualized. I believe that we should teach our children how to protect themselves. So no touch, good touch, bad touch is a go. That is so good. But apart from that, teaching them about sex and exploring it, for me, that is very questionable as a parent and as an educator. For one, we have so many laws that says we have age limit for drinking, we have age limit for, for driving, for smoking. We do not get our children involved in this. Why? Because those are adult decisions. And I believe sex is an adult decision. Anything that teaches a child without the consent of the parent to know and explore sex is a no-no.
I have here a book that I want to show that in this book, one of the assignments of the children for elementary is that they will be forming a watch group to watch pornographic shows. So it's published. This is I'm not gonna mention the publishers, but this is what they did, and here. What it says here is form a media watch group who will monitor different indecent pornographic programs in the television and printed media. These things get printed, and even porn was also one of the contents in some of the curriculums that are available out there. So yes, comprehensive sex education, when there's a failure to supervise content, and children would do more harm than good.
When we're facing a lot of situation or problems when it comes to teenage pregnancies and the rise of STDs, our best solution for those kinds of things is to improve our knowledge base. And that knowledge base is improved through education. So I think that's the main ideas that I think of when I hear sex education.
Do you think faith-based opposition to sex education is outdated and dangerous for today's youth?
Sex and sexuality is constantly expanding. And that's the role of science, to learn about those kinds of growth and development when it comes to knowing about these kinds of things. When we focus mainly on faith when it comes to teaching children about these things, it can be limiting because it can be teachings from older times. So to be more effective in teaching children and to be more all-encompassing and to be more up-to-date with what they need to know, being guided more by science and research is much more effective than mainly relying on faith and religion.
Yeah, faith-based opposition against comprehensive sex education that isn't rooted in data or science is very, very dangerous. So I do believe that yes, parents are free to teach their kids faith, values. Anyone is free to believe in the values and the faith that they choose to. But again, education, that is the right of everyone and of every kid. And just because yung information na yun nandiyan dyan sa harapan mo, hindi naman ibig sabihin na ayun yung papaniwalaan mo, di ba? So, what is faith if it's easily shaken So again, the schools should do what they do best, educate, give the information, and then it is up to the families and the parents to shape the values of the kids as they grow up. Not only is basing everything on faith dangerous, but I think we all know history. Alam natin kung anong nangyari dyan, so...
Yung term, Sagrado Katoliko. And the impact of that particular statement to me and the way I was brought up, I never learned to discuss it openly to my friends and classmates. I was very mindful of the things that I will be saying, even the word sex, S-E-X. I cannot confidently say or share my stories. And so, faith alone, I do not agree that it will just be the basis, but it's on the values. It's based on the openness and trust of the parents and the kids. Again, growing up, I was brought up with fear, and that is something that I wouldn't want to be instilled to my kids.
Do you think implementing sex education will do more harm than good?
I think it will do more harm than good, especially if it's condom, contraceptive, reliant. And mostly ito yung nakikita ko, it's based on contraception and condom use. Ito yung nakikita ko na sa social media, the promotion of condom. The danger here is it gives children a false sense of security. The condom is Guttmacher Institute na mismo yung nagsabi, ang effectivity nito in preventing teenage pregnancy is 98%. Ang best estimates on its protection sa HIV is 95%. At hindi pa natin pinag-uusapan yung mga STIs na makukuha mo in skin-to-skin contact like genital warts, herpes, Mpox, and HPV, yung human papilloma virus, which is the #1 cause of cervical cancer sa women today. It is the reason kung bakit mataas pa rin yung HIV cases natin kahit na palasak na yung condom in some youth. Hindi pa natin pinabanggit
Di ba,
yung
Jay,
HPV.
parang with all these things you're mentioning, that's actually my concern. It's really, yung approach ng CSE curriculum is that bakit ang you have to see sex also as a holistic thing that a child can have to learn holistically. It cannot just be a bodily function.
Sa akin, so comprehensive sex education can do more harm than good kapag right now, for example, may report sa hearing na yung mga teachers pala hindi pala sila adequately trained. Tapos marami tayong narinig din ng mga abuses na madalas hindi nasa-solve. So I think more of the implementation right now as it is kapag hindi siya anchored on sexual risk avoidance and kapag hindi siya akma dun sa Section 14 ng RH law, I'll go back to that kasi yun yung supposedly dapat yun ang basis eh. Hindi naman dapat ibang basis. So yun dapat yung ating basis is reproductive health education. Nandun yung sex education, nandun yung responsible teenage behavior, ganyan yung responsible parenthood, tapos yung mga moves natin against gender-based violence and may values formation, character building, and yung relationship, emotion. So yun naman yung nasa reproductive health education. Unfortunately, when we scanned the CSE curriculum, yung official sa Stray, medyo kulang siya. Nakukulangan kami. Unlike, for example, yung curriculum nga ng Singapore, na ang daming data on that, handling relationships, handling a broken heart, yung parang saying, negotiating to say no, yung mga ganun. So, ang daming lacking
Meron kami niyan sa book namin.
may book kayo? Siya may book siya on sex education. Ako wala.
Exactly,
Wala pa.
kasi yun ang kailangan nila.
Mababa ang usage natin ng condom noong 2003. If you search the New York Times article, HIV, AIDS, low AIDS virus in the Philippines is puzzling. This is the time na mababa compared sa rest of the world ang HIV and AIDS cases natin sa Philippines. At mababa rin yung condom usage noon. And it is puzzling para sa Western countries. And I think during that time, we still have our values. And the values that we espoused during that time is abstinence-based, and we don't have casual sex much during that time.
Do you think sex education will reduce sexual abuse and harassment?
I personally believe that with sex education, it can reduce sexual harassment and abuse. Something that we read in the news is that there's this 13 years old, just a little girl. She was sexually abused by the father. And the reason why that particular incident hasn't been brought up, it's because of the lack of education. It's because of the lack of awareness. The child is very much afraid of the family, particularly the mom, that if she raised that particular incident, nobody will believe her. The mother didn't believe her. And that's the reality.
When it's a person that you trust, when it's someone who is supposed to be taking care of you, or someone who is supposed to have your best interests at heart, it's very easy to get that confused. And you would not think this person will ever do anything wrong to you. And in connection to the story that Nini just told us, when this kid was asked, do you know that what he was doing was wrong? And the child's answer is, no, hindi ko alam. Hindi ko naman yun alam eh. Hindi ko na malay ko ba yun? So this so-called innocence that we're trying to protect when it comes to sex education, or kung saan man sila may expose, ayun dun naman pala sa family, sa sarili niyang tatay, naranasan yung karahasan na yun. So I do think providing information and education to young children about what someone is not supposed to be doing to your body, what if you're a girl, what a male or another female should not be doing to your body, letting them know what that is going to prevent and will be very useful in identifying abuse and also identifying consent.
Do you believe implementing sex education is just a way of forcing Western values into our culture?
Yes, 2 words. Gender ideology. And ito ngayon yung isang beses nakita ko sa notebook ng anak ko who's studying in a Catholic school of all places. Nakita ko ng gender ideology lesson. The thing about that is the Western world medyo na-realize na nila na it's a mistake. Sweden, Hungary, they stopped teaching about this. Sa UK, they closed the largest gender clinic sa Tavistock. If you search the Tavistock Clinic, medyo nag-hit na sila ng break on gender ideology because it started to confuse kids, and it's a danger sa kids. Transitioning from one gender to the other. Makikita natin sa news sa ibang bansa, may biological male na nananalo sa swimming competition, sa track and field, may biological male na nag-identify na babae, linipat siya sa women's prison, and nakabuntis pa siya ng 2 inmates. May biological male na pumapasok sa spa ng babae na nakahubad. I think this is dangerous. They're kind of smuggling this under sex ed, sabi na sa gender and development program daw, but I think na hijack yung gender of and development program, which is originally meant for the empowerment of women sa Magna Carta for Women.
Pero ang ano dyan ang issue natin is teenage pregnancy. So,
Yeah.
So,
It's very
I think
far.
what you're saying is
Yeah.
mas marami ka nakitang contents on gender ideology versus
Kasi
yung contents versus teenage pregnancy, STD prevention, saka yung gender-based violence.
Yeah, and ito yung medyo malungkot dyan because ang elephant in the room na hindi masyadong pinag-uusapan when it comes to HIV is malaking percentage ng may HIV are those engaged in male-to-male sex. And sadly, ang current sex ed natin ngayon, medyo ine-encourage yung mga bata.
Pero okay lang sa'yo na
on
may
this.
counseling for those. For example,
Definitely.
tanggalin to sa curriculum, pero kung may ma-identify na mga situations na na parang tingin ko prone to So kailangan in a way na loving, non-judgmental,
Definitely,
i-counsel for the purpose of intervention lang.
Actually, kasi bago pa lumabas yung CSE dito sa Philippines, kaya nga kami gumawa ng book
May sex ed book
about
siya.
values education on human sexuality. Precisely because we saw the need that everybody is creating a culture wherein sex is just an act. I'm sorry, an act of your passion when it involves so many things apart from that and affects a person holistically in so many ways. That is why, for one, yun parang, alam mo, naiiyak talaga ako. Kasi when I give talks to girls and they start opening up, talking about na kung hindi si tatay, nalasing, na inabuse sila, parang, what has happened to our morals? I'm so sorry. Kasi 20 years ago, medyo mas matanda na ako. Sorry. So nakikita ko ngayon yung mga differences among generations. Sasabihin nila, ay kasi ano yan ang kahirapan. I'm so sorry, hindi Kasi 30 years ago, may gumawa niyan, which is not often, kukuyugin yan ng buong kapitbahay, ng buong barangay. Hindi uso ang bentahan ng anak, hindi uso ang ginagamit para diba? Sex trafficking ang anak.
Pero anyway, sige, to answer the question, kasi konti lang yung oras, to answer the question, dun sa DepEd Order 31 series of 2018, where nandun yung CSE, kasama dun sa source of funds is yung mga international organizations. And sa mga narinig namin, may mga people on the ground na sinasabi nila, yung mga international organizations, for example, si UN, at may mga ibang organizations pa na meron silang condition, merong donors condition for the use of money, which hindi lang kasi siya to solve teenage pregnancy, hindi lang siya to solve STD, may mga ibang nakapasok dun. So to answer the question, totoo na we are being interfered with by international entities na naglalagay ng kondisyon sa kanilang donation na ipinapasok dito yung kanilang mga lessons na hindi na related sa goal. My biggest hope for this debate is that we can clarify our position against the comprehensive sex education, although we are in favor of a Filipino-based sex education. Are we aware na may mga teachers who mishandle the lessons? Dapat meron tayong whole of nation approach in addressing yung mga gender-based violence, STD, teenage pregnancy, at we will not just hayaan ng isang curriculum na bahala na ituro mo okay na. Supposedly dapat merong community approach dito, whole of nation approach, to combat yung mga evils na gusto nating i-combat.
In terms of the implementation, I agree na kailangan nating i-tweak, kailangan i-revise, kailangan ng representation from every member of the community.
Yes.
Personally, the parents, they have a very big role kung paano natin papagandahin pa yung implementation. Apart from educators, apart from the immediate school community. So, in that particular standpoint, nagka-agree kami.
Okay.
That there has to be some level of intervention that needs to be done in revising it. And making sure that the curriculum will fit the Philippine standards.
While ayaw natin ng faith-based alone na curriculum, pero may something wrong ba if we will integrate some faith values in the curriculum?
In the curriculum itself, I don't believe there should be faith-based values inserted. Unless, of course, if you're in a Catholic school, that's, you're putting your kids in there. But as much as possible for something like this.
Ang sabi naman ng faith, sex is sacred. Diba? So with that, it has to be associated with love, not abuse of passions.
I think that's a whole
A different thing, yeah. But my fear with adding faith-based values into sex education is creating the sense of guilt or parang shame within the kids.
Mali naman.
Exactly, mali naman.
Oo.
My dad was a pastor. My mom is a super conservative. I grew up in a Christian family. And what we were told in youth group, if you have sex before marriage, you're tainted. It's about time that we discuss this. It's about time that we put our children's safety and their education first. We should set aside our egos, other beliefs. So I think we can all agree that, but correct me if I'm wrong, we all want sex education, is that correct? But what we want right now is to maybe may mga bagay na papalitan, may mga bagay tayo na nababaguhin, and Has anyone ever thought that, these views about inappropriate information or not age appropriate teachings are maybe just fake news or parang propaganda lang para that are against this bill? Because so that's one point, but then another point, I guess, when it comes also to use of condoms or contraception, we were given numbers, and that is correct. The best thing is to not have sex, but then when we do, we need these items if you want to stay safe, if it's relationships and different kinds, but a 98% better than nothing or not using it. As you say na parang, ano tong condom use? Ano tong paggamit nito na tumataas din naman yung number. So, is that not better than nothing at all?
I think it would be unfair kung di natin sasabihin sa bata yung risk. Because may risk talaga. The issue with the current sex ed is it's targeting risk reduction. I think ang gusto namin sa side namin is risk avoidance. So yun yung...
Hindi condom reliant. Pwede ituro ang condoms, pero hindi siya condom reliant. Kasi yung iba parang just give them the condom, okay na. Ako, I've used a condom before, hindi naman na-cover the whole thing. So parang, diba? So, diba? So, I mean, diba? So nakita mo, hindi mo na siya safe.
Hindi, parang obit. Kasi for me, as a parent, I'm also a mom. Just to let you know that I really like it that you teach your son sex education. Kasi me as an educator and as a parent, we always call that the teachable moment. You are the perfect person to know that it's the right time and it's the right thing to say. That's why it's called teachable moment. And they will understand it completely because you know him. Now, the thing is, I know our fears as a parent because I had to question myself na, better to be safe than sorry, di ba? Kaya you want to teach your kid condom use and all that. But in all my years, giving, sexuality education, but always with higher purpose of love and meaningful relationships, family, and a happy home. It always have to have that dignity. You remove that dignity from sex and it's just a bodily function, and that's what we get out of society. It just comes out as a pleasure. So we have more kids get, pababa ng pababa yung age while they're exploring because you don't give them a higher purpose for it. You don't give them something to want to achieve, why they should save themselves for it. And that's what I try to do also with my kids because honestly, I got pregnant before I got married. Hindi na ako teen naman. Pero hirap na hirap pa rin ako because it was unplanned. And you try to question yourself, ano nangyari, di ba? What are the things that I could have done better? How could have I decided on that situation? Because at the end of the day, I think when you give kids what they're up against, not just no, wag mong gawin mo yan, pero sabihin mo, save it because there's something good in the end. Yeah. They will live up to that.
Yeah, I think yung nangagaling siya kasi nung check nga namin yung curriculum, once lang din discuss from K to 10 yung early teenage pregnancy prevention, yung preventing the STD, yung HIV, STD, hindi rin siya part ng discussion on communicable diseases. So once lang siya binanggit. Tapos more of exploration, sexuality, sexual identity. So parang nakulangan kami kasi hindi yun ang purpose supposed to be ng RH law. Tapos dun sa concern ng baka may fake news na age, baka hindi age appropriate, may isang ni-roll out na curriculum 2021, 2022, bago inirelease sa 2023 curriculum. Nandun sa former curriculum yung identifying or describing sexual parts during using their different sense organs. So, taste, touch. So, medyo may mga ganung wording. Tapos, yung sexual rights, diniscuss siya. Tapos, ang learning competency is for active lifestyle. Yung mga ganun. Tapos, yung nabili ko ng libro na tinuturuan, required yung mga estudyante to look for porn para i-report. Pero they have to watch it first. Yun yung parang medyo shocking sa amin. So, hindi siya, dun kami nanggagaling lang. Kaya siguro...
Sa Singapore curriculum, walang ganun.
Kaya medyo na-shock lang
kami. And wala
kami.
Silang mga, di ba? Their teen pregnancy is very low, right?
Did anything you heard today challenge or even change your views?
For me, it really reinforced more the idea that we really need to get our parents involved. It shows that it is a big concern of parents, but many do not know how to go about it. But I want to believe they are willing to learn. And I think that's very crucial because we're talking about our children here. And it cannot be that we let the system, the education system, or the government just work on it. These are our kids. People will be close-minded about things they do not hear in social media. Things that may be new to them, or maybe because it's unheard of, it will not work. So my hope is that through our own experiences, me as a mother, as an educator, and other people that we have here, we can open minds to other forms of sex education programs that have worked. I believe it will work here in the Philippines.
I would like to explore the idea na it doesn't have to be either or, parents or school, can be both. And I think ang disagreement na lang mostly is what should the school teach. And going here, I'm as a big believer na talagang parents ang may sole responsibility when it comes to teaching kids about sex. Even my teammates dito sa conservative side, I think they have a bit of a different view sa akin when it comes sa sex ed sa school. These things, I think I'll try to explore this. Tignan ko, pag-aralan ko, Obed mentioned the Singapore-based curriculum. I think I'll need to check that one out.
This generation has so many potential that we could be able to reach our potential for our country. Yeah. So sa akin, what changed my mind, or at least parang mas na-refresh ako kasi, meron din palang, kasi we thought na lahat ng gusto ng sex education is sexual risk reduction lang, na parang condom reliant siya, ganyan, contraceptive reliant. So ngayon lumalabas, based sa sinasabi niyo, may mga elements to na sexual risk avoidance, na parang feeling ko yun yung ating magandang we could agree, and then more people should be parang actually according to the law, actually more parents, hindi pa ako parent pero may mga parents na who get me as a lawyer para to represent them, ganyan. So pero parents should be involved daw kasi in crafting the curriculum, na I think yun ang nagkulang. And siguro kung kasi kami na-shock lang kami. We were just shocked. Like ako, nabili ko yung libro na may assignment for na maghanap daw ng porn. So sa akin, medyo shocking sa amin, talaga shocking 'yun. Pero kung more of us are involved, more of us are talking about this, tapos more of us are involved in crafting the curriculum, what lessons should be taught, siguro yung our expertise, kasi syempre marami tayong expertise, ako batas-batas lang siguro ako pero yung emotions na ako, baka mahina ako dyan. So yung emotion, yung parang how to address the emotional aspect nung sa relationship, saka meron tayong pwedeng explore pa within our Asian context, hindi yung Western. So ayun, so yun ang sa akin, na what refreshed me is that pwede pa tayong mag-usap, and we could have more forums para magtulungan tayo na i-craft yung best na education curriculum. Saka sa ibang bansa nga, they're so sophisticated na on this na naisip na ni segmentation, na they can group people in demographic ni yung mga ganito yung issue, i-group natin dito, group natin doon. Sa atin kasi wala pa tayong ganun. We're not there yet. Pero yung iba kasi they're so much into this na nagagawa na nila yun. We can explore this further. And salamat na meron tayong democratic discussion on this.
As a sociology major, we deal with issues of social class and inequality. The reasons why poverty becomes harder and harder to solve as time goes by is because when you're an impoverished family and you get teenage pregnancy, or one of your children gets pregnant early, then it pushes your poverty even further, because that person will not be able to get a job and will have to take care of another child while not having sufficient money as it is. So those kinds of cycles become continuous, which then entrenches poverty for like a society even further. And those kinds of things makes me more concerned about those issues. As we create laws in the future, we need to discuss as well with the parents how they will better address these kinds of things, or how they will be affected by these kinds of laws. But more than that, from someone with a more sociological perspective, it's not just also about the schools and the parents, but as the community as a whole. How we together interact with children and how we interact in terms of sex and talking about these kinds of things. So in as much as the educators teach children, how will the educators then also teach the parents? And how will educators, for example, or the government as a whole, teach people outside of your family how to interact with each other and things like that? When talking about sex, it is a very cultural thing. And to take away the stigma and to be able to discuss these things much more clearly and much more effectively, we need to have better laws that does not just address it on an educational level, but on a societal level.
The ultimate goal really is for our kids to have a safe environment for them to grow up, that they know how to interact properly with the opposite sex. And having said that, we need to have a structure, a framework that will address, if not all of the issues, maybe do it in phases.
Yeah, similar to what everyone else has said. Thank you to the three of you for sharing your thoughts and for being very open. I know sometimes it's not, it's not always easy, but rest assured, I really listened. I personally listened. I took all your thoughts and opinions to heart. I have a lot to think about tonight, and I guess my biggest takeaway is we still have a lot to do as a nation, as individuals, as Filipinos who want to progress, because hindi naman pwedeng may isang sector na may iwan, di ba? When we talk about progress, everyone needs to move together. Hindi dapat may maisasantabi kung baga. So if you're moving forward, everyone needs to move forward. And one of the, I believe, hallmarks of progress is being able to talk about sex in a way that's respectful, that's age appropriate, and also in a way na walang judgments. My biggest hope is that we all come out here with more understanding and empathy for each other. But at the end of the day, my hope is also that we put aside any biases, that we keep an open mind and keep our eyes on the goal, which is protecting the younger generation and ensuring their safety and making sure that they have the right tools when navigating this very confusing world, and also maybe a world full of misinformation.
It includes talking to your kids about this sensitive matter. I hope that more parents would check with their local governments of how to avail this parent effectiveness service program so that they would be more capacitated to talk about these sensitive topics to their children.